Hey, what's going on, everybody? Just enjoying myself a Dunkin' Latte iced, medium size. I don't know why you guys need all those details. I'm just trying to explain to you what I'm doing, I guess, in my life, day to day. Not the most interesting life, but it's not a bad life. I got nothing to really complain about when it comes to that. I mean, there are a lot of things to complain about, but in my own life personally, I feel like things are okay. You know, I'm in a good standpoint, and a lot of the reason why I make these videos is because I want to kind of provide whatever advice I can, provide actual statistical data, what's going on, because I want to make sure that other people, especially the younger people, can understand that there is a light at the end of the tunnel, no matter what situation you're in, as long as you're willing to, make it work, and gaining the knowledge and understanding of how to make it work, and implementing that knowledge and understanding is the second phase, right? These are the two things you need in life to become. I'm not saying get rich unless that's what you want to do. My goal really wasn't to get rich. I wanted to get to a point where I could live comfortably and even retire early a little bit, which is one of my main goals right now. I'm looking to do an early retirement. So let's see how that goes. I'll probably still be working in between, but careers, done with those. Corporate America, done with that. Just ain't working for me, man. So yeah, let's dive right into it. The myths of the stable career and how our next generation does not want to take on leadership roles because the juice, honestly, just not worth the squeeze. I mean, we all know and we can see this already taking place. It's taking place in your workplaces. It's taking place in your own personal life, probably among your friends, family. That worker pessimism in the U.S. is heavily on the rise. So many reports and statistics have been showing this. It's not anything new. It's been going on, I feel like, for a while. Even, I remember in 2018, 2019, I still remember back seeing these studies being done on worker sentiment, and HR would also send out these reports. And yeah, I don't know, I feel like that was all BS. People are maybe, when HR sends you something internally, it's gonna be BS, because internally you're gonna get a lot of people who are afraid to lose their jobs, even though it's anonymous. All these are, I've been clearly shitty, crappy jobs, and the reports come out great, that everybody's happy and there's nothing that they need to change, right? Maybe a couple of tweaks here and there. I call BS on them, man. Come on, the place clearly shit, but this older generation didn't know. They didn't do these surveys. So the ones that were, they were like, man, I don't want to lose my job, bro. I'm just gonna say, they might know it was me that I said that, so I'm not gonna fuck that, like, it's bullshit, man. So when the real studies are done, they show the complete opposite. And the complete opposite meaning that worker pessimism is down. It's been down since then. It's been down now, and it's even further down now since 2019, 2020. 61% of workers believe the idea of a stable full-time job is a myth, and 72% of that 61% are Gen Z. This was a study done of over 3,000 employed individuals. Yeah, I mean, yep, it's makes sense to me. It makes sense why the younger generation, especially the ones now who have to look for jobs in this shitty market that we're completely altering for them, when we told them in 2019, 2020, oh yeah, get into computer science, and but we're not going to let you know that in the background we're doing this AI thing, right? That'll come up in a couple of years. Let's not talk about that. Don't forget, if something is in the market now, that means it was planned for 4 or 5 years ago. That might be a separate video. So, 42% of the workers have side hustles or second jobs. 52% of those 42% were Gen Z in this report. Sure, if you're not finding those full-time jobs, you have to make do with a second job. It makes perfect sense. I don't fault people for that. Why should I? But then again, on the other end, a lot of these secondary jobs are gig jobs. They are jobs like Uber and Lyft and Uber Eats and freelance work. But if AI is taking that over too, or have heavily implied that it will take that over eventually, then what the hell? You know, that's another conversation too. Like, all right, now we can't even have second jobs anymore. We can't have part-time jobs anymore. We can't have supplement our income with these other jobs. Okay. So these numbers make sense, I guess. The motivation and the desire to move up has plateaued because of things like, well, let's see here. It says 76% workers have said that leadership roles are unattractive. I found this interesting because they didn't really mention how much of that, what percentage of that 76% are Gen Z in this part, but 80% Gen X and 76% millennials out of that 76%. That's interesting because these should be the next leaders, right? Think about it. Mid to early Gen X and late to mid millennials, probably people in their between age 35 to 50, I'd say, should be looked upon as the next leaders, and they don't want it. They don't want it. Reason being, I mean, two things the article mentioned were burnout and office politics, but I mean, there's a plethora of reasons why this could be the case, right? Burnout is one good topic, of course. Burnout has been on the rise, especially ever since the pandemic, when employers have been trying to make do more with less. So trying to make one person do the job of three people did become pretty common. Now with AI, that might become even more common. So they don't need as many people. They'll just have one guy or girl doing it, and then that person will be supplementing some of their work with AI. So burnout was one reason. Office politics it mentions, nepotism and all that stuff is a big deal in office politics. I've worked at many places where the boss's son is there, and look, he was already being groomed to be the next leader. It's not freaking crazy. So I'm not even the business owner, like a manager's son, right? So that's interesting that they mentioned that. The juice is just not worth the squeeze, I guess. The money's not worth it. You know, these are things I'm talking about, not really from the article, but the money might not be worth it for a lot of people. Like, why kill yourself even more for an extra $5,000 to $10,000, maybe even a year? Now, if it's like really substantially higher than what you're making now, and you need it, and you have the drive to take the leadership role, even better. Great, right? Do it. But according to this article, motivation, desire to move up in leadership has plateaued. I can see it. My desire to move up in any sort of leadership role, unless it was my own business, which I wouldn't be the leader to begin with. But unless it was that situation, then I wouldn't want it either. I see the writings on the wall for me. And now that I look at it, a lot of people might not be talking about this maybe, but they feel the same way. So it's nice to know that I'm not alone in that thinking. And the idea of still looking for purpose in work, that's a good one, you know, and I want to kind of talk about my opinion on that. You know, the sense of purpose, finding purpose in your work in this consumer-based, pro-capitalist economy, society, even generally speaking, doesn't work, doesn't correlate. You can't. It's going to be really hard. A very small percentage of people are actually going to be able to find something that they find purpose and sense in a consumer-based capitalist society, because we're just creating junk for the most part. Our economies run on junk that we don't need, just things we want, basically. And then the needs are, most people have their needs pretty much sort of met. It's things we want, right? Keeping up with the Joneses and all that stuff. That's what our economies run off of. And trying to find purpose in that alone is already like, it's hard, man. It's hard. Unless that is your purpose, right? Like, I want to create junk. Sure, then you're a perfect candidate for this, but for finding purpose in the way things are. But for most people, that's not the case. You can't find purpose in this type of economy, the way this economy is run. And the idea, obviously, profits over people, which is a heavily pro-capitalist idea. And again, I'm not anti-capitalist, okay? I just feel like they've taken something good and they've how do we say, like poisoned it, right? And it turned into what we have now, which I call late stage or end stage capitalism. So I'm a firm believer in that ideology of the late stage capitalism ideology. But yeah, profits over people have led people to be demotivated in the workforce, and I don't blame them. So anyway, I don't want to make this video too long. I have to shorten these videos. I'm making them too long. But yeah, man, motivation in the workplace is going lower and lower. The more we mess with workers, the more we take away their benefits and rights, take away their pay, start taking away their jobs by trying to do heavy implementation with AI. I've already been trying to take away their jobs by offshoring their jobs, getting in workers from overseas. And the idea that we're already creating junk for the most part in this country, it's written right there, man. Like there's no other. You don't even have to mention other things. That alone is enough to see why these numbers are so high. So something's got to change, but I guess we'll discuss that as things move forward. All right, guys. Catch you in the next one.